Hi, welcome to Gary's Hobby Studio. In this video I'm going to be installing Proxmox version 7 on the Dell R410 that I got replaced by the RS140. If you saw my previous video, I'll link it up here in the card for the RS140 part 2 because I totally screwed it up. Finally got it to work. Everything's up and running, and pfSense is working beautiful now. And I actually think I've actually saved a little bit of power because it's a lower wattage machine. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and go through in this video setting up Proxmox, and then I'm going to go through creating a VM. Now I'm not going to install an OS. That's going to be in the second video because I'm going to go through installing Debian along with installing MediaWik version 1.37. So let's go ahead and get Proxmox set up. I'll show you how to create a VM and everything, and then we'll move forward from there, okay? Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to, and let me help highlight my cursor there. So we're going to log into the remote management, which is nice about having servers like this. And yes, I am using a VM of XP because XP with Java 6 installed on it actually works better than me trying to deal with it on Windows 10 and Java 8. I mean, I've got it to work where I can remote into it with my Linux laptop with OpenJava. I think it's 11 or something like that. But it can't record this. The hardware is not powerful enough. So, but anyways, I digress. Sorry about that. So let's go ahead and launch this. Okay, move this down here. So what we want to do is open up the virtual media console, and what we want to do is we want to add an image. And here is I was able to connect the other port of my excuse me, I'm still getting over a sinus thing here, so but the other side of my ReadyNAS, I swear to God, my mind. So this way I can select ISOs, and that's the backup server, which I still have to determine what if I'm going to use that. Wasn't that a real kick in the head? I thought I had... But, yeah, I have no idea why that happened. I thought I had it. Alright, so back to the video. You want to add image. You want to select the folder, or network share if you have that where the video is, or I mean the ISO image is going to be stored out. So in my case it's on in the template on that IP address, and there it is right there. So you want to open it. You want to, now this is with this Dell iDRAC 6. In later iDRACs it may be different. In other IPMI solutions for the servers, Could be something completely different. I don't know. I'm just going by the 410, what it's showing me here. So you want to check mark that. And once you do that, it's mapped. So now we'll minimize that and that. And then what you want to do is then power on the system. So as you're about to execute, and it's either F10 or F11 I have to hit so that I can select the virtual CD-ROM drive, or it's not going to work. If you do F12, it doesn't work because it actually looks at the physical. I learned that the hard way when I was first, because I had to update the BIOS on this to the latest one because it was out of date. Okay, come on. Where are you? There we go. Whew. I was like, which is it? It's F11. At least for, again, the Dell. I don't, again, each one's going to be different. You'll have to keep an eye out on it and know what it is. Okay, so let's see if we can make this a little bigger for you guys. I don't know how well that's going to work. Let's see. Yeah. I'm going to try to, I'm going to move myself down over here. So that way, hopefully, we'll see. As a matter of fact, let's do, shrink my mug down a little more. Alright, so as you can see here, it gives you normal, which we don't want to do that. It'll load up into Windows 20 Server 2016, which is what I use to update the firmware. So let's go with Virtual CD. Welcome to Grub. Alright. Proxmox. So, I mean, we're not going to do debugging, you know, if you want to test the memory, but we'll go with install Proxmox VE. I have some notes on what IP addresses I'm going to use for stuff. Now it does take a little bit of time because we are doing it over a network. We're not doing it directly on the machine. Everything is gigabit, so except for the remote management card, I think it's only 10100 is the fastest speed it is, but I think everything else is gig. So once it's up and running, the web interface of it, and this isn't a big ISO, so that's why, like I said, I don't think it should take too long. I don't think. I've never really done it this way. I usually either use a CD with a CD drive or a flash drive, you know. But I wanted to try it this way just to see. There we go. Just takes a little bit. Okay, so obviously you have to accept their terms of you know, their end license agreement. And there's only one drive, so it's going to use that. Options are if you want it to be as ext4 or any of the ZFS versions. Considering I don't really have a lot of extra drives in this, I mean, if I had 4 drives in there, I'd probably go with like a RAID 10. I don't know why it's ZFS, but and then there's like a BTRF. I'd probably go with BTRFS because that should work with the RAID controller that's built into it. I haven't changed it or tried to flash it so that I can just pass the drive straight through, or even get a replacement HBA card for it. Because again, it's a demo. I mean, maybe my other ones in the future, maybe, but in this case, we're just going to leave it as the XT4 because it's only got one drive. It's already got RAID 1 already built, set up internally on that particular RAID card. So, but that's where you would change, different settings depending upon what you want to do with the hard drives that are in there. So we click next. Time zone. United States. And I'm on the East Coast. US English. Next. Password. Now, I'm going to use simplistic passwords. If you want, you can, I would definitely recommend a strong password for your own safety. But like I said, this is just a test demo. So let's see, we're going to make it. Okay, and you have to give it a valid email address. So that, but I will definitely blur that all out. So we're gonna give it GHS. And we're going to give it a static IP of there we go. And DNS servers already selected. Okay, so there's everything there. Gives you the final thing. Automatically reboot after successful installation. So now we want to install. Yeah, I think I'll come back once this is done. Well, that was stupid. I had my microphone muted, so you'll be up to this point as opposed to everything else. But, while that's doing that, in repositories, to add a repository, you would select the no subscription, which would automatically give you that, which is what it did for me. Earlier when I was muted, because this way here and this is a nice feature that they've added this, because before you had to modify registry file, or not registry files, but you had to modify a sources file to get the no subscription repository to show up. But that's the nice thing, and you want to definitely disable the enterprise one because you don't have a paid subscription. If you have a paid subscription, then obviously you would use that. So let's go back to that. Alright, so now system update seems like you've installed new kernel. So from here you can type in reboot. And it'll actually start to reboot the server. It'll say stopping all VMs and containers, and it's disconnecting from that there, so you can close that out. The beauty of it is we have no VMs or containers running, so we don't have to worry about that. We just have to wait till it decides to pop up, which we can watch here real quick. And then this way you can see when it's up and running. Because I don't have monitors connected to the servers, just because it's a pain. and as I said in the first part of it that was muted, that got cut out, Dell servers take a little bit of time to load up because of the amount of hardware checks that it does. I'm sure there's a way for me to go into the BIOS and probably disable a lot of that stuff. I'd rather have it go through that way. If there's an actual problem, it can tell me. And I know, and then I can see about getting it fixed. I know sometimes it can be annoying, but it depends on your level of, you need to know. If you're like me, OCD, where you need to know the stuff that goes on, yeah, it's definitely good to have it on. If not, you can shut off a lot of it. Alright, so let's switch back over to that. Alright, so now that we're back up to there, and let's read. There we go. And as you can see, it's now 7.1-10. It was 7.1-7. So now that we have the latest and greatest stuff here, what I'm going to do now is show you basically how to create a VM. And I'm not going to go through the installation in this video of the actual OS and everything. That's in the next video coming up after this. So what you would do is you would come over here. You have a couple of options: create VM, create container. We're going to create a virtual machine because we're actually going to go through a virtual machine. So under general, and if you click on advanced, it shows like a bunch of other stuff. Like if this is something that where, like if you have to reboot the server and you need it to come up, like say it's a domain controller where it hands out DHCP, handles resolving DNS names, stuff like that. Like my Windows domain controller, I have this check mark to where it starts on boot, so that when Proxmox loads back up after a reboot, those VMs just automatically start up, and I don't have to go in and click start and all that stuff. So here is where you want to give it a name. Now it's already on the one node because we only have one node, but if you had more than one, you could hit this here and you could select a different node. Like if I had if this was GHS1, GHS2, GHS3, you could select whichever node you wanted to put on. So I'm going to call this GHS-Debian 11. Okay, and shutdown order any. I mean, you could change that if you want. I say just leave these alone. So then we click on next, and here's where you would select the storage. If you would select it as local, or in the case of which will be in the next video, I'm going to show how I add the NAS storage, so that because I have all the ISOs there in one location, as opposed to I had to put them on the, like on my network, I had to put them on the local storage for the first server and then the second server, so that if I wanted to create a Debian VM on the second server, oh crap, I now have to download the ISO, because they don't talk to each other when they're on the local machine. But the nice thing about a network attached storage device of some type, you can put everything there, you can share, put the folders on both machines, and guess what? Both machines now have access to the same things, and you're only storing one copy. But like I said, that'll be in the next video. But we're just going to go with local. And I know it has ISO image. I'm just going to select don't use any media just to get through this. I can change it later, which will be shown in the next one. Here is where you would tell it like what kind of OS. Like say if it was going to be a Microsoft Windows, you'd select that. This is for version 11 and server 2022. Or if you have 10, 2016, 2019, 8, 2012, 2012 R2, 7, 2008, Vista 2008, XP 2003, Windows 2000. In case you notice that there's nothing older than that, which you really don't want. So we're not really doing that, so we're going to do Linux. We're going to leave it this because this is the most newest, because in Debian 11, I think it uses kernel version 5.10, which I know this does too. So we've already selected the guest OS. Leave the graphics card and all this stuff at default. And then you want to go here. Now here is where you can select how much disk space you want. I'm going to give it 100 gigabytes just because it's going to have a database and everything. So I want it set there. Now this discard, it's for SCSI. This way if you delete stuff off of it, it frees that storage up, I want to say immediately, if my memory serves me correctly. I'm not 100% sure, but because I'm using virtual SCSI, I want to have that discard turned on. We're not worried about emulation or any of this stuff. So next is the CPU. Now here is where you can, now these are like CPU flags. I wouldn't worry about this at all. Here is where you can select, especially if you have a lot of cores and a lot of threads, like both there's 2 CPUs in the 410. There are 4 core, 8 threads, so a total of 16 threads for 16 virtual CPUs. So I'm going to give it 2 sockets, and that way it pulls a core from each one. So it has a total of 2 cores. It's using a thread from, because if you go with the total threads, it's using a thread of 1 core of each CPU. So it gives it a little bit of stuff there to play with. So then next, memory, I'm going to give it 8 gigs of RAM. Actually, no. I'm going to give it 4 gigs of RAM. Let's see. What the heck is that? 4,000... 4096. Had to do math in my head. You can tell I'm old. Okay, so, and then for the network, it's going to use the same as the interface because, like I said, I don't have a lot of different network cards in this. I'm not going to put a 10 gig card in it because I'm not going to be doing anything with this. It needs 10G, but my virtual servers on my main network do have 10G cards because I do have a lot of things that do require 10G bandwidth. So we're going to leave that. And then next. Now on this confirm, it just, in case if there's anything you want to change, you can go back through and change it. You could check mark this to start after it's created because it'll go ahead, partition, set up everything, write the files that it needs to file, and then start it. Considering I'm not doing it just yet, I'm going to leave that unchecked and I'm going to click finish. Okay. So there we go. And there. Now, here's the VM that I just created. And as you can see, it's really not that hard. Sorry, I had to sneeze. And basically, it gives you the stats where you can see like memory usage, network traffic, CPU usage. And there's other graphs here like disk I/O. And here is where you can change things like in the summary. If you click on the gear, and then you can tell it, like, you can give it a description. And when you click OK, and then it's right there. So this way, if you come up to the summary, you go, oh, okay. So, because, I mean, it's descriptive being Debian 11. So I know that it's like, okay, I know Debian 11's running on it, but what am I really using it for? And then you can look in the notes, VM for installing both Debian and MediaWik 1.37. I was like, oh, okay, so I have MediaWik on it. And that way, if there's anything I want to do or tweak to it, whether it be for a video or just in general, you'll know what it is. And the stats here, like it'll show like memory usage. You'll see where like these lines go up and down here as well for like usage wise. Here is where you can look at the virtual console this way, or if you click on this button, it'll actually pull it out in its own window, and then you can like maximize it full screen. You could probably do it here. I haven't tried. I usually run these because that way it's separate, and that way if I need to tweak anything here or do anything here in a browser, I can just do that. So let's close that. And then hardware. Now this is where you can edit it, you can change it. Like here's where I'll change to add the ISO once I add the folder to it. And I'm not sure what this cloud int is. It says no cloud int drive found, so I'm not sure what that's for. I have yet to use it. And then here's the options where you can change it to start on boot, shut down any order, you know, what type of OS it is, boot order, SCSI IO, IDE, network, use tablets for pointer, and there's a bunch of other settings that you can change too. Here's task history. Not sure what this is for. And then here's where you can set up to like do backups, like how I've set up in my main server to back up VMs to a folder on the network drive, which I probably will have a video on how to set that up here, because it was actually nice to get that, because every Sunday it backs it up, which is nice. This way, if I do something stupid like I did to my MediaWik a long time ago, I can actually restore it, because me like a dumbass, I could kick myself for that. But that's neither here nor there. And then there's like replication, where it says replication needs at least 2 nodes. So probably, like if I want to replicate this VM to all the nodes that I have, I would set this up. Eventually, at some point, I'd like to just store the VMs on like a TrueNAS or some other kind of NAS device and just let it run off of that. But that would probably require a 10G connection. I have to experiment with that, and I'm not ready to do that part yet. But then here's where like you could like do snapshots, you know, to where which I wished I would have done that. I could have rolled back when I did that stupid stuff on my MediaWik, which I'll learn that for the next time. Firewall, not sure why that's there. I'm sure there's a reason. I just don't know what it's for. And then permissions, you can add group or user permission. But that's how you set up a VM. I'm definitely going to edit a lot of this stuff down, try to condense it down, make it make sense. I might take out some of the gibberish that I do. But that is pretty much how to install Proxmox and set up your first VM. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to install Debian 11 along with MediaWik 1.37. So, as I always like to say, guys, take care. Have a good day.